And ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. My name is Stephen Hughes, and I'm doing live coverage of the NCAA Selection Show. Again, my name is Stephen Hughes. I'm here a half an hour, or less than a half an hour, before the NCAA committee selects the 68 team field for the NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament. And everybody is very psyched for what is about to happen very shortly at the top of the hour at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern time. A lot of people are going to be very excited and up to date on what's going to be going on there. It'll be on 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be on CBS, Selection Show on CBS. But first, let's talk about the teams that got the automatic bids to get into the March Madness tournament. Let's start in alphabetical order. The Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC. Miami gained the win over North Carolina earlier today. Are there some people are suggesting they should get a number one seed, but others think that they should get a number two. We'll find out in about half an hour. From the American East Conference, Albany with a 24-10 record won their tournament over Vermont. St. Louis earlier today in the Atlantic 10 Conference beat VCU. They're going dancing, and they're going to get a good seed, probably around a 4, at the highest, a 3. In the Atlantic Sun, the Florida Gulf Coast team from the Atlantic Sun earns their first tourney bid. Congratulations to them. They'll probably get a 15th or, unfortunately, a 16th seed in the tournament. In the Big 12, Kansas, they pretty much locked themselves a number one seed with their win the Big 12 tournament over the in-state rival Kansas State. In the Big East, the last Big East tournament, Louisville beats Syracuse. Their 29-5 record closes out the old Big East. The Cardinals did it proud and well. Two-time Big East tournament champions. In the Big Sky, the Montana Grizzlies go out for the victory. In the Big South, Liberty, the only team below 500 to get into the tournament. Liberty ended the year 15-20. If they win the conference tournament, you have to give it to them. They win the Big South, they'll definitely get a 16 seed. In the Big Ten tournament, Ohio State gets the win over Wisconsin earlier today. Wisconsin upset Indiana in the semifinals yesterday, so it ended up going for a nice red and scarlet and white championship game in the Big Ten over in Chicago. Chicago it was at the United Center. In the Big West, Pacific holdovers the win, hold off the Anteaters of UC Irvine. In the Colonial Conference, you have James Madison. They'll be going dancing for the first time since 1994. In the Conference USA, the mighty Tigers of Memphis, who end the regular season and the tournament season 30-4. They're taking that. They'll probably get a third, fourth, or fifth seed in the tournament. They win in double overtime. In the Great West, there will be no automatic bid, but Chicago State takes the title over there in the Great West. In the Horizon League, Valpo gets the win at 26-7 record. They'll be going dancing out of the Horizon League. In the Ivy League, there's no tournament, but for the second straight time, Harvard is headed to the tournament. They end the season 19-9. In the MAAC tournament, or the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, the Iona Gales edge out the Manhattan Jaspers, and they'll be going dancing. Iona ends the regular season 20-13. In the Mid-American, or mostly known as the MAC tournament, Akron over Iowa, and the depleted Zips get the win over there, 26-6. That's the record going into the tournament. The Mid-Eastern tournament, the automatic bid will go to the North Carolina A&T Aggies. They end the year 19-16, 3 games above 500. In the Missouri Valley, it's the easy team for the second straight time. Creighton at 27-7 takes the victory over there. They'll probably get a 3, 4, 5, or at the lowest 6 seed, in my opinion. In the Mountain West Conference, the number 15 team in the land, New Mexico, takes the win. They were 29-5. They take the win over the UNLV Running Rebels. In the Northeast, you have the Long Island University Brooklyn. They'll be going dancing for the third straight time out of the Northeast Conference. They end their season 20-13. Ohio Valley Tournament. Some people say that Murray State should have won it because of their success last year. They were a little bit depleted this year. Belmont takes over the Ole Valley Crown. The 26-6 record, they hold off Murray State in overtime. In the Pac-12 tournament, Oregon, who left out of the rankings earlier in the last 2 weeks, they handled the Bruins easy. Bruins, UCLA, 21st in the rankings so far. Now they'll be looking for a 3 or 4 seed. Oregon, 26-8, they take the Pac-12. In the Patriot League, Bucknell is back in the dance as they go 28-5 this season. That'll be enough to head to the big dance. In the SEC tournament earlier today, it's not Florida, but it's Ole Miss that gets the automatic bid. They punched their tickets with their win over Florida and Nashville earlier today. That was a great game to watch. If you missed that, you missed a great one. In the Southern Conference tournament, Davidson wins his second title in a row. They'll be going on once again dancing to the NCAA tournament. Davidson, notably led by Stephen Curry a few years ago, was on a streak of not going to the tournament because of, what happened to Curry and his absence over there at Davidson. I'm sorry, guys. A little bit sick right now. Southland Tournament, Northwestern State goes to the tournament for the first time since 2006. Northwestern State will end with a 23-8 record. In the Summit League tournaments, South Dakota State Jackrabbits going to the tournament 25-9. They end their streak. I'm going to get this cough taken care of. When I come back, I'll finish out the automatic bids. You're watching coverage of the NCAA Selection Show.
The gringo, sing flows, yes, the cockatoid. Kill Agnes with a glance from the pupil of annoyed. A mic stored in underwear drawers of my dresser. Rhymes from True God, yours is child of a lesser. A lowercase G hanging under the bar. My G's above and beyond and shining bright from afar like North Star. Guided me to Gibson, the major Dr. Stranger. Like Blase Blah bringing danger. Infernos of Harmonico sick. Stand tall, surfing ink from Bic. Push the click, now I'm running. Leading down the L-pen shaft. And spin a phonograph to exercise a paragraph. Epitaph. From killing off the flesh for 808, a low frequency to give you something to hate. We tie words uptight with lasso, with art from the soul, Pablo Picasso, and paintbrushing my discussion when we touching time sublime with rap flow. We tie words uptight with lasso, with art from the soul, Pablo Picasso, and paintbrushing my discussion when we touching Russian. It's like that go. Yo, I ride upon the trail, my heart's pumping oxygen like Indians and moccasins. I've been cheating.
Hello guys, I'm back here. I covered my cough. It was bad. I apologize for delaying what you guys really want. Sunbelt Tournament, Western Kentucky 2015. Their second straight big to the dance. They're heading off dancing. The Southwestern, the SWAC Conference, Southern over Southwestern. The SWAC goes to the Southern. They end their season 23-9. In the WAC, New Mexico State gets their second consecutive league title, 24-10. And lastly, the West Coast Conference, Gonzaga, number 1 team in the land, 31-2. They reclaim the WCC title. We'll be right back. I'm going to cover his cough again.
Watch your step, my 6-shooters mark with an immense love for death. A true desperado, my models crushed and plus. If you step, you'll end up in the wooden box in the dust. Urge cross my happy underground, wild Bill couldn't tame. You get gunned down, it's about the fortune and fame. Spit out like tobacco, the names look the born as evil. Taking scalps and horseback till I change the strange ground upon my people. All my people.
I manipulate metaphors, bring the medication to heal hip-hop's many sores. Rushing through the corridors, and the middle, in the middle. I fit them with life's riddles and break them down to little riddles. I'm that multitasking, clean up your wasteful chatter like some canine fecal matter. Drop it in the bag and make the quick dash to make sure that it goes out with the morning trash. I'm that problem solving for all them questions asking, and you up and coming has been. See, I was raised on rap.
session jerk, no joke. That's what my
Hello guys, I'm back here. I'm gonna talk low for the rest of the time, so I don't get that cough back. So, what I told you in the last two parts of the show, those are your automatic bids, and obviously you have the at-large bids. Kansas State, going from each conference in the ACC, you got Duke, possibly number 1 seed. Probably that's probably not the case. They'll probably going to be a number 2 seed after losing to the quarterfinals to Maryland. North Carolina, they're going to be a 4 seed. Struggling year, not a lot of good players. For the Atlantic 10, you have VCU, who lost to St. Louis in the championship today in the A10 tournament. Then Butler, obviously, the most notable team out of the Atlantic 10. Big 12, Kansas State, maybe Baylor. In the Big 10 tournament, Indiana, Wisconsin. Looking down the list throughout, in the SEC, Florida, terrible loss that they suffered today against Ole Miss. West Coast tournament, St. Mary's. Legit teams, Pac-12, UCLA, possibly Cal. Their early loss in the tournament over there in Las Vegas possibly cost them a spot to the NCAA tournament, but probably a good spot in the NIT tournament. Looking at more throughout the list, Mountain West Conference, possibly you can look at UNLV, and other than that, I don't see any other team possibly going dancing. I can see probably 2 or 3 teams out of the Mountain West going to the NIT tournament. Big East, Syracuse, definitely Georgetown. Georgetown looking very good over there. So we got 15 minutes left right now until the selection show on CBS. And just want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys. Sorry I'm not 100% right now. It's been like this for the last few days, but I'm glad that, I was trying to get this through. Quickly before the end of the show, my number 1 seeds, 4 teams with the 4 teams with the number 1 seeds in the tournament. I like Louisville as the number 1 seed, Gonzaga as the number 1 seed. I like Miami as the number 1 seed. I really do. I feel like Miami's going to do a lot. And then Kansas. So again, Louisville, Kansas, Miami, Gonzaga. Those are my 4 top, number 1 teams. Teams that are in the bubble into making the tournament. A lot of people say Kentucky. I don't know why they even have a chance still. They do not have a chance at all. Some poor loss games. They lost to Vandy earlier this week. Just a very, very, a team that everybody knew they weren't going to do good because lots of great players. Like Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel did not do anything. He was injured. And last year's team, just everybody's pretty much gone. Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, the top 2 picks in last year's draft. It's unfortunate, but I think that Calipari's going to be very excited by next year because now you got guys that know what's going to be going on in the SEC and what they're competing for, and the chances of winning SEC and getting a good seed and having a better season is very possible. But you gotta think, what are they really gonna do to improve into next season? And definitely the health of Nerlens Noel is gonna be big. But it also going a little bit off topic from what I'm talking about. Some people might be surprised to know if Indiana in my number one. You know, this their loss in the semifinals pretty much cost them. Miami wins the tournament. If I have to go between Miami and Indiana, I will definitely choose Miami because they won the tournament. They have better credentials. They smoked Duke. They almost swept Duke if it wasn't for the Ryan Kelly surge that he had the first game he came back. They took on Miami at Duke. So Miami, they should be a number one seed. That's what I'm thinking. But in the mind of the committee, I feel like they'll give more credit to Indiana, even though Indiana did not win the Big Ten. Ohio State did. But anyway, some people also might say Georgetown. I don't say Georgetown because they got knocked out early in the Big East tournament. Why should they get in? It's just the simple things that the poor performances in the tournament cost the team a number one seed and all that stuff. But some teams that look forward for people to watch a lot from the automatic bids. First, the Atlantic 10, St. Louis. You gotta take a look at them. They are probably going to the Sweet 16. They're going as far as the Elite 8 because that's how good they are. It's just that if they're in the league if they're in a region where you have teams that are very dominant, the same or maybe even better than them, then that'll cost their chances. But I definitely secure them as a Sweet 16 team. Just looking down this list, look at Oregon. Some people might say they're an Elite 8 team. They have a good squad, but they're inconsistent. That's why they have 8 lost games. That's why they're not ranked right now. But in my opinion, I think Oregon is going to go far as the Sweet 16. Is going to go as far as the Elite 8 also. But I can't say that they are locked for the Sweet 16 because their inconsistency can cost them in the first round or second round. Sunbelt from the Sunbelt, Western Kentucky, always a threat to top-seeded teams, as high as 3, as low as 6. Western Kentucky is just great at the dance. It's pretty much their thing. I'm not saying anything bad about any other team, but Western Kentucky, you have to take a look at them. They're 5 games above 500, but they're a team that can go to the Sweet 16 at any time. But from the Mountain West Conference, you have New Mexico. You gotta take a look at them. Speaking of the Devil on CBS right now, the guys covering the pre-selection show, they're talking to the New Mexico coach right now. You take a look at that, and look and see develop an opinion on how New Mexico's going to go. They have a good team too, but the question is their conference strength going to cost them or going to help them? Because New Mexico's a good team, but they're 29-5 in the Mountain West. If they're playing in a Big 12 or a Pac-12, how many more games are they going to lose? And how many of the wins will they lose because of the strength? So, New Mexico, they're more consistent than Oregon, but you have to watch out for them too. They're probably going to be a number 3 and number 4 seed. And lastly, I want to end it off with Creighton. No one gives Creighton a lot of credit because they're also in the bad conference, the Missouri Valley Conference. What's up with that? Let me give you some teams that are in this Missouri Valley Conference. Pardon me. Indiana State. There's one. Northern Iowa. Remember that team a few years ago? As an A seed, upset the number 1 team in the tournament, and that was Kansas at the time. Wichita State, very good team, but their loss in the MVC title game probably cost them a spot into the tournament. Missouri State, just some teams out there. But some people are not going to know a bunch of teams that are trying to make a statement for themselves. Big 12. Unfortunately, look, you're really going to think Texas is going to make it? No, they're not. Oklahoma State, probably. They're a high seed, but they got upset of the Baylor in the quarterfinals. That's what cost you a good spot into the tournament. Oklahoma State will be at large, but that loss killed them in the semifinals. Pardon me. They won the quarterfinals, but look at the other team. Oklahoma, 4 seed, pretty good record, but they're not going to the tournament. They lost to Iowa State. Even though Iowa State is a good team, but come on. You do a lot better. And last thing I want to point out from tournament, Pac-12 tournament, one team cost themselves just so much. Quarterfinals. Cal, the number 2 team in the tournament, in the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas. The number 2 team. They lose to number 10 Utah. How does that make you feel now? First, Utah beats USC, which is a good one. That's perfectly fine. Utah is number 10 out of 12 teams. They were better than Washington State and Oregon State. That's bad. That's terrible. But then Utah beats Cal. Cal just lost a spot in the tournament. They lost to the number 1 seed in the NIT, in my opinion. You lose to Utah. That really bugs me. Look, Utah, and they lost to Oregon in the semifinals 2 days ago. They lost 64-45. That's pretty reasonable. Utah ended the year 15-18, and they ended the regular season in the conference 5-13. How is that even possible? I don't care about USC anymore. I care about what is Cal doing. They just cost themselves a spot into the tournament. Guaranteed. You lose to Utah in the quarterfinals in a game where you should win and you shouldn't lose by 10. That's just underperformance right there. That's underperforming. That's why I'm upset right now. I'm kind of yelling, but come on. Won't you think that if a lot of people are hopefully listening to the show, but you're an Ohio State fan. You're number 2 in the Big Ten tournament. Would you really want Nebraska to upset you by 10? No, that's the same feeling that I have with Cal losing to Utah. And Utah's the second-year team in the Pac-12. They moved from the Mountain West Conference. That's the worst part about it. Let's move to the West Coast Conference. Obviously dominated by the number 1 team in the nation, Gonzaga. Look for St. Mary's. They could possibly go to the next round. They can go to the NCAA tournament, but it's really hard. They went 14-2. 14-2. But they lost both times to Gonzaga. They beat everyone else. That's perfectly fine. There's some decent teams in the West Coast Conference. I'm being dead honest. There's BYU, who moved. Actually, he didn't move, really. But there's Santa Clara, who had a great season, surprisingly. You got USF. Then you got the Gonzaga, who's obviously the number 1, is going to be number 1 seed with what they did, but you gotta give Gonzaga some credit. They had a great year, great team. But St. Mary's, if they don't make the tournament, I'll be a little bit surprised. But again, weak conference strength, and that's what's gonna cost them. let's continue up this list. Let's go to the Conference USA. Conference USA, not a very big tournament over there, but you also have some good teams. You have Memphis, obviously, Southern Mississippi. You have UTEP. UTEP had a surprisingly good year, and I say that because their team isn't really that strong. To be completely honest, they went 18-14. 18-14 in the regular season, 10-6 in Conference USA, and they were a 3 seed. That doesn't mean they'll make it. They'll definitely not make the NCAA tournament, but NIT, possibly. And then this is the last tournament I'm gonna look at for you guys. There's 2 minutes left. I'm gonna send you guys over, and you guys can turn on your TV and watch the selection show. Boston College, Virginia, they lost in the quarterfinals to NC State. Probably cost them a spot into the tournament. North Carolina gonna make it. Duke gonna make it. Maryland probably not gonna make it. They made it to the semifinals. They beat Duke. They had to do better in the regular season. Probably not gonna make it. Number 6, Florida State. Probably not going to make it. That's Florida State. That's possibly the only team, or the last team I can think of that could possibly get into the tournament. Random luck, but they're not good enough to get the victory. That's it, guys. I gotta send you over. I want to thank you guys, and hopefully, I do another show soon and get over this illness. That was your kind of delayed coverage of the NCAA Selection Show. I'll have you guys go over to CBS. The NCAA Selection Show on CBS starts right now. Let's see if your team will go into the NCAA tournament right now. The 68 team field is being announced right now. Enjoy the show and have a great rest of the weekend, guys.